Hi everyone, welcome to the Chitchatknits podcast. This is a podcast mostly about knitting, and today we're going to talk about knitting. But first of all, this is episode 2 of the Chitchatknits podcast, and today the title of today's podcast is Duets, and I'll explain that as we go along. First of all, however, I want to thank you so much to those who watched episode 1 that ended up being in part 1 and part 2. I'm learning, but your kindness I'm just overwhelmed with your kindness. So I want to thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I was overwhelmed. Thank you so much. So what I would like to do is gift someone a Chitchatknits pattern. Now, I know from other podcasters that there are bots or scammers or something out there. So I'll just say it right up front. I'm going to ask you to comment on this video, but I will not be contacting you. I will announce the person that will be given a gift of a pattern or 2 people on the podcast next time. So please know that you won't get anything personal from me, or I won't comment back on this video that you're a winner or anything, because we have to stop these scammers. It's not okay. I commented on another podcaster's video, and I did have a message that's saying I won and give them my credit card and all of that stuff. And I actually contacted the other podcaster right away, and they had a bunch of people that happened to. And I hear that it's happening all over, and you know what? That's not okay. So anyway, the theme of today's podcast is duets. And a duet is where 2 people either sing together or play music together. And so today, this is not about singing. This is about color, duets of color. We're going to see a lot of colors today because I love color. And here's what I want you to do. I want to know your 2 colors that you enjoy putting together. So to be one of the people that I might gift a pattern to, and I'll announce it on the next video, tell me what 2 colors in the comments that you love putting together. And you know, a couple people told me where they were from on the last video's comments, and that was really exciting to me. So if you want to put in where you're from and what your 2 colors that you love putting together, that would be amazing. I would love to hear from you. And then of course, I'm going to ask you to subscribe and maybe like the video, ring that little bell, all that stuff, Anyway, so I'll remind you of that again at the end. I hope I remember to do that. But anyway, just leave me a comment with 2 colors that you love to put together. So I've picked some projects today that I have previously made and one that I'm working on that I've combined 2 colors. So let's look at those. First of all, however, I want to tell you that spring has sprung here in Wisconsin, and it is absolutely beautiful out. I have some daffodils here that my sister-in-law gave me. They make me so happy. I think my hostas are growing a couple inches a day. Every time I look out there, they seem to be getting higher and higher. And it's a rainy day, so now we're really gonna see some growth. It's just beautiful. Anyway, let's get on with it. I like to start out with what I'm wearing, because I know when I watch other podcasters, and they don't talk about what they're wearing right away, I sit there and think, what is that? What is that? What is that? So I'm going to try to, if I'm wearing knitwear that I've made or designed or whatever, I want to start out with showing you and telling you about it. So this last time I talked about the slip crazy cowl and the slip crazy shawl. And this was the third variation on should I say variation, iteration, whatever, of the slip crazies. And this one is called the Slip More. And this pattern, you can see the fun slip work. And then I added a decorative border in one of the colors. And in this one, I used DK weight yarn. The others were made with fingering, and after those were out, I thought, well, what could I do with two solids and DK weight? And this is what happened. So this one is by Yeti Yarns. The pink is, I don't know how to say it, Bawa Ram or something like that. And then a turquoise that she had. And these were made about a year ago. And they're in her drop bear DK, and it's really nice. It feels really nice. It has a nice weight to it, so it's easy to knit with. I love the colors. And then I did a second, so that was Yeti Yarns. And then Boawan. I don't know what that means, but anyway. I did a second one, and this was Sun Valley Yarns, Jeanette and George. And if you want to feel some wonderful yarn, go visit Sun Valley Yarns. And this one is in a lime and royal blue. Let's get it up there. So that is the Slip More cowl. I like these kind of cowls because it looks like wearing a shawl, but because they just slip over your head, they're all knit in the round, it just slips over your head, and it just drapes, and you don't have the fuss of a shawl. Sometimes you don't want to have to fuss with it. I told you that I was going to tell you right off the bat what you're seeing. And there's something else you're seeing is a quilt I made. Now, I made this years ago, and I don't even think I used a pattern. I think I just made 9 patches. See, that's a 9 patch right there. If you're a quilter, you know what that means. And these are reproduction feed sack prints. So they're new fabric, but nowadays new fabric, but they're made to look like flour sacks or feed sacks from the past. And then I just added a little tulip motif. Maybe I don't know if I take it off there, it's going to mess everything up, but maybe I can get it back. I just added a little tulip blanket stitched on there. And I wanted to put this on the back of the chair today because they're all color duets. You see that? Get it back there. Okay. It wasn't too awkward, maybe awkward. Anyway, color duets, 2 colors that play together. And yes, we'll get on with that. Yesterday I took a dyeing class, and I'm going to tell you about that. But one thing she did was she gave us a color wheel. So we could really look at what we were doing as far as the color wheel goes. And so in something like this, the cowls, this, if you go to complementary colors, the ones that are across from each other on the color wheel, you get a really nice look of color. So let me tell you about the dyeing class. It was really, really fun. I took it at the Shepherd's Harvest Sheep and Wool Festival, which is going on this weekend. They usually do their classes the day before. So I went down. This is in Lake Elmo, Minnesota, which is 40 minutes from my house drive, 35, 40, something like that. So not very far. I drove down there and took this class, and it was by Nancy, I've got it right here, Nancy Macaulay, Macali, and her on Instagram, she is Ohmifibers, OHMI Fibers, OHMI Fibers, and she did a fabulous job leading us through. We dyed in we dyed the yarn in mason jars, quart mason jars. And I'll show you what we did. They are beautiful. But I have to give Nancy a lot of credit because, first of all, this is a fairgrounds, and so they're just pole buildings, and you need hot water, to set the dyes in the jars. And this building, it kept blowing fuses on the electrical outlets. So she had to run around and flip the breaker and trying to keep us going, keep the hot water going. And then the other thing was there was not running water in the building. I guess they had moved the location across to a different building, and the first building had water, but this one didn't. I think we just needed a bigger space or something like that. So then there was running to get water from the other building. So Nancy did such a beautiful job. She never let us know that it was upsetting. It was just the fact of life, and we just made it work out, and work out it did. Let me show you. So first of all, we did a one color in 6 jars, like a gradient of color. Ombre, gradient. Anyway, let me get them in order. Here are my 6 that I did in gradient. Come on, stand up and show us. And I used, they were Pro Chem dyes, and the one I used was called Sea Breeze. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I think it's so pretty. It's woolly. It's very woolly. So I couldn't wear this. I'm kind of sensitive to scratchy wool. So I think I'd like to knit a wall hanging. Might be getting all artsy on you here. I don't know. Anyway, here they are. They're so pretty. Oops, I think that went first. So beautiful. So that was our first 6 different jars that we did that one in. Then, and here's where the color wheel really came into play. Then we did 2 colors in 8 jars. So we had to stay pretty close to, our 2 colors had to be close on the color wheel. They couldn't be opposites. And you all probably know about this, but I was learning about dyeing. So I had to really think about this. So I wanted to use the blue was called Sea Breeze, and I wanted to use this key lime for my second color. Isn't that pretty? Limey green. But these we were doing 8 and 2 colors, and the 2 colors were mixing in a jar. So if we did opposites on the color wheel, they would just get muddy. So then I decided, well, I would just go with yellow. So this is, I think it was called Sunshine Yellow. So here are my 8 that I did. Aren't they pretty? After I had already done the blue, I thought, well, I should have done a blue and a yellow and then gotten green in between. So I could have gotten more color variation and then done a different color. You know, I always overthink things. They turned out beautiful. I love them. And so here's what I want to do. I want to put all these together in some kind of a knitted wall hanging. Hey, yellow, you're sticking out in the wrong place. Get over there. What do you think about that? Aren't they pretty? I am so happy with the way these turned out. Would I do it again? Yeah, probably. It was a lot of fun. It was a 3-hour class and it went by as if it was about 15 minutes. It went by so fast. We had such a good time. So if you ever get a chance to take a little dyeing class, if you've never dyed like I hadn't, do it. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Now, I do have to say, I give yarn dyers a lot of credit because we sort of ran out of time in cooking, heating the second batch. So I brought my jars home and then I just, I have a big kettle that I just heat them in. When my jars broke, I spilled boiling water on my hand. I had trouble getting them dry because it's raining like crazy here. I mean, you yarn dyers go to a lot of work. Just twisting them up is work. So, you guys, I appreciate everything you do in creating indie dyed yarns. You're amazing. Anyway, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Would I do it again? Probably. Yeah. So, anyway, so on that theme of finished objects, I call my yarn finished, dyed, not knit, but dyed. I wanted to show you a sock, and this is a color duet as well. Now, this will be a pattern. Ooh, not really straight on there. But I wanted to show you these colors because, oh, look at that. This blue is of North Yarns again, and it's called Mr. Blue Sky. I love blue. You'll discover that. And then I just paired it with a little scrap of lime green. Isn't that pretty? Let me show you the front of this sock, though, because this is where the magic happens on the front of this sock. It has a cable pattern that runs down the front of the leg, and then I carried it on down through the foot. Would you have to do that? No. You could just knit a regular foot. But I decided to carry it on down the foot. It sort of gives the sock a little squish backness so it doesn't flop out. But this is, I think I'm going to call this pattern Crisscross Socks. So you can watch for that coming out in a while. They still have to be tested. And by the way, I want to thank one of my viewers for volunteering after my last video to be a test knitter, and I'm always looking for more test knitters. So if you'd be interested in that, please just shoot me an email on Instagram message, chitchatknits, chitchatknits@gmail.com. You can just send me an email, send me a message, whatever. Just let me know that you might be interested and I can add you to my list. Anyway, Crisscross socks, they'll be coming soon. I have to write charts yet, so. Anyway, okay, so another thing that I would like to do in my videos is I'm going to call this section Go Go Gadget. My kids used to watch, what was that show? Oh, Inspector Gadget. They watched that cartoon when they were kids. And he would have all these little tools. And he would say, Go Go Gadget. So I thought it would be fun to tell you about some of the things that I use that are not big, expensive knitting tools. I appreciate good knitting tools. Don't get me wrong on that. But there are a lot of things that we have around our houses that can be used very well to help us out in our knitting. So the first one I want to talk about is a diaper pin. You see that? This actually was I used because for a while when my kids were little, way back a long time ago, I actually used cloth diapers. And this is, I don't know why these diaper pins were hanging around, but I found them and I thought, this is the perfect thing for. Here it is. You know those little, in your interchangeable needles, you have those little key things for swapping out the cords and the needles, that little wire thing. Well, first of all, I can never find that little thing. And then if it's in the little bag that it came in, I can't get it out of that little bag. And anyway. So one day it dawned on me that why not I had these little diaper pins just sitting in a jar in my craft room, and I thought, that might work really well. Because, first of all, it hangs on the zipper of my interchangeable needle case. So, it's just a big safety pin. So I just flick it right on the zipper, close it up, and it's hanging right there handy. I don't have to dig in the bag for it. It's right there. And they're sturdy. They're a heavier, larger safety pin, so they're very sturdy. So I just use the tip of that pin, put it in that little hole, turn my needle, it works great. Diaper pin. You could also use a large size safety pin and hang it on your case, and it's right there. So, Go Go Gadget, diaper pin. All right, so the next thing I'd like to talk about is a new design. And this is where the Duets came from. Because after the last episode, well, let's back up. I am going this summer to Zombie Knitpocalypse in Rochester, Minnesota in June. And I am so excited to go. I'm going with my friend Laura. We always love to hang out and do knitty stuff together. So we will be there. I also will be showing my designs in the designer showcase. So that is really exciting to me. But for their May-June craft along for Zombie Knitpocalypse, the theme is, I can't say it exactly, but it's 2 color or 2 yarns. So I was thinking about that, and it got me really inspired to do a shawl design. So my motivation was I wanted to use 2 colors. And then I I was also thinking about sport weight yarn. Raise your hand if you've ever used sport weight yarn. Okay, so sport weight here in the United States is not that common. We find fingering, and then we usually go to DK. And the difference, I think, is in yardage. Sport weight is usually somewhere over 300 yards, under 400 yards. This is just my interpretation. You probably have a better one. And DK is under 300 yards close between maybe 220, 210 and whatever. So I know there's great sport weight yarn, and I wanted to explore that. So what I went to my local yarn store, Darn Knit Anyway, love them, and I bought Juniper Moon Farms, ooh, a lot of light there, Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia Organic Merino. And this comes in at 382 yards for 100 grams in 3.52 ounces. So, so it falls in that what my definition of sport weight would be. It's more yardage than a DK weight in 100 grams, but not as much as a fingering weight in 100 grams. So I chose turquoise and pearl. Here they are, turquoise and pearl. So you might say pearl isn't really a color, but it is a color. We're getting a 2-color pairing here, a duet. And here's the design. I'm on the last section. This is a triangle shaped shawl. It is knit from the top down. I wanted to do striping, and I wanted to do some texture, and I wanted to be pretty simple. I like to knit with friends, and I like to have some projects where you can just knit and talk and not have to be focusing on your pattern. And this would be a perfect one, because after I got started, I got the pattern written. As I'm knitting away, it just repeats, and I haven't even been looking at the pattern. I've been just knitting. I do include stitch counts at the end of each section so that you can go in and check your stitch counts and make sure you're on track, because you'll want to be on track for the textured section. So this shawl will be called the Each Kindness shawl. It's 2 colors, 2 solids, tonals maybe. It might be fun to see it in 2 high contrasting speckles too. This is where I love what testers do. They just take it and go, and it's so fun to see what they do. But my first version is this Patagonia. I'm really, really excited to finish it now. I started this a week ago today, so I think that's pretty fast. I have a few rows on the last section and then a bind off, and I'm going to use an interesting bind off. I've already figured that out and written that in the pattern, so I'm excited. And then I'm so excited to drop this in water and see what happens. And this shawl is it's not quite as, it's a triangular shape, but it's not a long V. I did a shorter V and a little bit longer sides so that it can be wrapped and stay on your shoulders. So I'll be soaking that. Watch my Instagram. I'll pop pictures up there when I get it to see. Chitchatknits on Instagram. I'm really excited about this. And I'm so excited that I want to knit another one right away. So that's where our little comments about color pairings, your color duet choices comes in, because I want some ideas for knitting another one. Now, I did pull these 2 out. I don't have enough of these to make another one. And sadly, this is from Toad Hollow. I love the ladies at Toad Hollow, but guess what? They don't dye yarn anymore. It makes me so sad because I love their yarn. And look at those colors. Aren't they beautiful? Anyway, these will have to become something special because those ladies are so special to me. But not this project. This is the Each Kindness shawl. And let me tell you why I called it the Each Kindness shawl. I thought those stripes, I was looking for a design. Let me show you one more time. I was looking for a design that reminded me of ripples on water. So that's why I did the stripes and the textured stitch that shows movement from the center column. So the reason I did that leads us to our book choices for today. If if this is your first time here, I'm a retired elementary teacher. I taught 3rd grade, and my educational focus was on English language arts, and I loved teaching reading, and I truly believe in the power of read aloud. So the 2 books I want to show today are this one, Each Kindness by Jacqueline Woodson, and it duets very well with this book. It's called The 100 Dresses by Eleanor Estes, and this is a short chapter book where this is actually a picture book. But they're very similar in that in each of these books, the characters are children in school, and there's a character that just doesn't quite fit in, and some of the other characters are not very nice to this. They're both girls in these books, both females, and in both of the books, Wanda and I can't remember the name of the character in this one, they end up leaving the school. And the girls who are not very nice think about their actions. And they discover that maybe they could have been a little kinder. And there's a page I want to share with you here. Here it is. So the teacher in this book teaches a little lesson. And what she says is that kindness, what she does is she throws a stone in the water. And you know how when you throw a rock in the water, a stone, a pebble, the ripples will come out from the pebble? And she said that is what kindness is like. If you throw a rock in the water, the ripples come out. And kindness is the same way. If you give someone a kindness, it proliferates and more kindnesses will be done. Now, if you do the opposite and do unkindness acts, it hurts people's feelings, and perhaps unkind acts will happen instead. So, like the ripples in the water, this design was inspired by kindness going out. A little example of this from my life. A few years ago, my husband had a little medical emergency, nothing long-term, but we rushed off to the emergency room. Early one morning, he woke up in horrible pain, and we just rushed off to the emergency room. He was fine. Don't worry about that. But they had to do a bunch of tests, and I have to have my coffee in the morning. I don't function till I've had some coffee. So while they were off with him having some tests, I ran down to the coffee cafeteria at the hospital. And I was really distraught. And the man in front of me in line, paid for my coffee and muffin or whatever I had. Just unprovoked. He said, I'll pay for hers too. And I don't think it was showing on my face how distraught I was, but who knows? But that little act of kindness, now this is about 2 years ago, and it's still in my mind, that little act of kindness that man did. And I've always wanted to do a design that was inspired by each kindness, 100 dresses, and this wonderful act of kindness that this man did for me that day. I walked out of the cafeteria and cried because it was so unprovoked and yet so sweet, and it just helped my day so much. So if you have a kindness story, I'd love to hear it too. Please tell me, and I can share your kindness stories as well. Great books, great for sharing. All right, so what's up next for Chit Chat Knits? I was thinking about that this morning, and I was thinking Chit Chat Knits, Darcy needs to finish some projects because she has a lot of bags with a lot of projects started, sitting around her knitting chair, and we need some finish up. So for the next episode, I'm going to try to show you some finished projects. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. And if you listen to the end, you are amazing. Thank you so much. I hope that all the uploading goes well for this podcast. I learned a lot last week, let me tell you. Be sure to leave a comment with your color pairings. I'd love to hear from you. Happy knitting.